I'd like to welcome you back to the show. So I have with us today Inna Goldina, and besides for being single, she's also very interesting because she's interesting for very many reasons, but specifically, she is a life coach therapist. She's going to share with us a little bit about her perspective, and I think it would really shed some light on the topic that we've been delving into. How you doing, Inna?
I'm doing very well. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So what would you like to know?
As much as you want to share.
So I, until recently, lived in New York City. And before that, about 30 years ago, I lived in Moscow, Russia. And since the pandemic, I pretty much moved upstate. And I live in the mountains, an absolutely gorgeous area, and very happy about it. So I spent about 1 or 2 days a week in the apartment I still have in Manhattan, and most of the time upstate where I live, and I also work. Because of pandemic, now I can work remotely, so that adds such freedom to my experience of work. Very appreciated. I had my office for about 20 years on 86 and Central Park West. So it was prime location. I was very proud of my office. And I was really, really crying when I had to let it go because of the pandemic. And then all of a sudden I felt free, and it was amazing transformation. I really like it and I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. The problem is that we get comfortable with the evil that we know. But you took that leap and you're upstate. Is that like Sullivan County?
It's Orange County.
Oh, okay. I'm familiar. It's beautiful up there. Wow.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Absolutely.
And you didn't mention the most important thing, that you love cats.
I do love cats. I have 2. One of them is cleaning herself right here. She's washing her face and listening to our conversation. The other one is sleeping downstairs. So yes, I absolutely adore cats, and actually all the animals. And here we have everything you can imagine, from bears to coyotes to chipmunks, wow, and everything in between.
Wow, that's amazing. That's the life. So yeah, peaceful. Yeah, and the remote, at least something good came out of the pandemic, that you can work while watching all that. It must be amazing. When I'm working remotely, I get to look at some really big buildings.
Yeah, so, I'm sure that this is not my reality, because working remotely from the apartment in Manhattan, that was not plausible. And I work a lot. I work about from everywhere from 6 to 12 hours a day. Gotcha. So I'm very busy, and it's incredibly important for me, and I believe for my clients as well, that I am in expansive space, that I have space for me, and my experience of life translates in better quality of work I can do for my clients.
Right, right. And back in Manhattan, it's kind of like being in an expensive prison during COVID as opposed to this. So let's jump in. What are your thoughts? As I told you, the rules are you can pick any topic within the world of singles, divorce, and some people have complaints, some people are very, very happy. I would love to get your perspective, especially since this is what you do, is you analyze things. I would love to know what you think. Pick anything, pick a topic, and then let's tear it apart.
So if I would talk on the topic of dating, I guess the first question that comes to mind is when people come to me and they say, I'm dating and I'm so disappointed and I cannot meet the people I want to meet, and people are ghosting me, disappearing, not interested, whatever it may be. I always ask the question, do you like yourself? Would you date yourself?
Interesting. Interesting.
Right? If you wouldn't pick yourself, how can you imagine that somebody else would pick you?
Right.
So the work begins, I believe, with interception and understanding of self. Understanding yourself beyond what you believe is your goal in dating? Because your goal is in dating, and the person you imagine next to you very often is a reflection of the ideas you picked up from society, from your parents, from your friends. It's not really your idea, and this is why very often you have a very hard time finding a partner, because you're not looking for you, you're looking for to satisfy these ideas that are not yours, right? So these two things, liking yourself and getting to the point when you know and like yourself, and you stand in front of the mirror, preferably naked, by yourself, and you say to yourself, yes, I like myself. Yes, I would choose to date myself. This is the beginning.
That's fascinating. If you can't love yourself, why would anybody else?
It's not going to be satisfactory. It doesn't matter what do you do, right?
Right.
It's not going to be because what we very often looking to achieve in relationship is for somebody else to do the job that we have to do, right? Somebody going to come and love me. Somebody going to come and compensate for everything I don't like about myself. Somebody would come and entertain me. Somebody going to take my boredom away, right? And it doesn't work.
So
Right?
what is the purpose of the partner then?
For each person, it's a journey to understand what the purpose is, right? In few words, I would say that intimacy is a big purpose. And intimacy, I'm absolutely not talking about sexual intimacy. There are many ways in which intimacy can be experienced in life. It's an emotional intimacy, it's experiential intimacy, it's conflict intimacy, it's creative intimacy. There are so many ways in which intimacy can be experienced, right? So intimacy is a very important part of it. Health is
Before you go on, let me see if I get this right, if you don't mind, before you continue. Don't lose your thought. You're saying that you should not date somebody to love you the way you should be loving yourself, but you could date somebody to love you in the correct way that you should be loved, but it's not the way people usually think, because usually the people haven't even completed the first stage of loving themselves. Am I sort of getting it?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I love it. Keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you asked me about the reasons to be in a relationship. So intimacy, number one. I would say health. It's statistics that people in relationships are healthier. They have lower blood pressure, they have longer lifespan, they have better social connections, just in general, life satisfaction is going up.
Okay.
Accountability, having somebody next to you is a very important factor for self-growth, right? If you're alone and nobody's watching, it's very hard to motivate yourself. Right? There are many other factors that I can start right now and finish tomorrow.
Right.
I've been thinking about it and dealing with this a lot. But I think for now, I would say this is incredibly important factors.
I think that's great. I'm glad you came on here just for these 3 points. That your advice in a nutshell, without going until tomorrow, is that you shouldn't be looking for somebody to give you the love you should be giving yourself, and that there's just practical health benefits to it, and that it motivates a person, because the fact is that we are herd people. We're herd people. It's probably a better way to say that, but we're in a group. When a person stands alone,
we need a witness.
A witness. I like that. I use that word sometimes. I've heard people say that, for example, somebody has children and then all of a sudden they lose a spouse, and they call the word a witness. It's like they're missing that witness to this experience. So even though it's amazing to raise those kids, but that piece, and also, you know, in divorce, in the singles world, also it's a little bit of a challenge to suffer with. So I like that work because I'm familiar with it and I understand it very, very deeply.
If you
Thank
allow
you.
me to go back just for a second, because if I would give advice, right, and maybe reframe what you said before, it's not only you have to love yourself, you have to know yourself first, right? We all want to be seen and we're waiting for somebody to see us. At the same time, we do very little in order to see ourselves, right?
So it's interesting because it's like, you know, egocentricity, decentralization, if I have the word right, that when you're a baby, you think the whole world revolves around you. And then you get to this point that you're describing where you don't need the world to revolve around you. What you really need is to be important in your little piece of the world. And then you'll have that fulfillment in a proper and healthy way, and you'll feel good about your life.
Absolutely. And then you will be ready to attract a partner. Right. So I would say this is step number one. Step number two is non-negotiables. It's a very interesting topic. Non-negotiables. And it's not about something you like to have in a relationship. Like, for example, you say, I would like for him to be tall. I would like for him to read books. I would like for him to, I don't know, like this is likes, right? But it's very different from non-negotiables. It's something you cannot live without. For example, it can be children, religion, relationship with family, geographical location. For each person.
Cleanliness, it could be simpler things. Knowing how to cook, it could be.
No, this is likes. This is something you would like to have. I'm talking about fundamental non-negotiables.
Okay, but something non-negotiable could be, okay, how about like cleanliness or good communication, things like that? Even though those are not as strong, like they're not as, I'd say, as global as the things you said, but they're also important, right?
They're important, but they're secondary in this. You see, while you're developing the list of non-negotiables, this is a wonderful tool of getting to know yourself, right? Like, for example, I can talk to you probably for about 15 minutes and you would say that it's okay if she doesn't cook.
Right.
Yeah. And about the cleanliness, I'm not sure what cleanliness you're talking about, but maybe messiness, right? Like, you know, ability to clean the house and stuff like this.
No, just a dirty person.
Oh,
not a housemaid, just a dirty person. Somebody that you don't think is on your level or on your needs of, you know, just the way they keep themselves.
So basically, a person who takes care of themselves, right? But it's like it's a bigger kind of thing, right? Because it's not only cleanliness. If the person is a dirty person, they're probably not taking care of what inside of their mind as well, right? It's a manifestation of something much deeper.
So it might be a symptom, not the actual issue.
Exactly. Gotcha. Right. So this is why the process of identification of non-negotiables is such a valuable tool, right? Because as you develop the first list, I always say to my clients, okay, sit down, give me a list of non-negotiables. The first list is like 50 points.
Right.
Or for some people, the list is like, I don't have non-negotiables. I'm flexible because people want to feel good about themselves. And then they feel good about themselves because I'm open-minded person. I'm open to everything. I don't have parameters. I'm flowing. I'm in flow in this life. And then they find themselves incredibly miserable, right? Because people, again, it's going back to knowing yourself, right? Do you know yourself enough? So the person who has 50 points and the person who has no points, right? It's going to take a lot of work to come up with the actual list of this non-negotiables. And this list is constantly have to be reviewed throughout your life.
It's so interesting because I don't like going over the same stuff that I've already mentioned in previous videos, but I was talking about this idea like you see it a lot of times in employment, guys out of work and they'll be like, oh, I'll do anything. And I'll say, don't do anything. That's why you can't find work. Be picky and you'll probably have an easier time finding a job, and it'll be a job that you'll keep. So this sounds like it's along those same lines, that if you think you're being easy, you're actually tripping yourself. You need to have your non-negotiables in order to have a good starting point.
Exactly. Absolutely. And very clear list of non-negotiables. Yes.
Right. Wow. That's interesting. And also it's funny, you're being very, very blunt, and it's good because it's just the truth that you have to put the work in before you find the right person, not vice versa. And it's tough. It's so much easier, or seemingly easier, to find the right person and then I'll improve myself. Whereas when you're lonely and it's tough, and I mean, I've been there. I don't know if you know my story, but I was divorced for over 10 years. And I know it's like, to be there all alone, silent in the apartment, and at that point, you're just trying to survive. And if you can get to that point where you start building and working on yourself pre-meeting the right woman, then you have a chance of meeting the right woman. So there's no easy way out.
No, this is very easy. I think it's very easy because you see, you don't have to go to, I don't know, Tinder or JDate or JSwipe and do all this work, right? Because that's pointless. Mm-hmm. Very easy. Start with yourself. You have everything you need. How easy is that? Everything you need. Get to know yourself.
Right. Love yourself.
Love yourself. I have a problem with this definition because love yourself became such an umbrella statement for acceptance of every horrible thing we have on the inside, right? What I'm talking about is not permissive approach to self-development. I'm talking about really honest relationship with yourself, and you know who you are. The same way as you want to know another person, you want to know your partner, you're willing to put your time, you're willing to talk about them with your girlfriends, with your parents, with your therapist. Put the same amount of work on yourself to get to know yourself. You'll be surprised. Every one of us will be surprised.
Right. And this isn't only for people who are single. This is, I'm married at this point. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to go find a mirror as soon as we say goodbye. No, I'm just kidding.
Beautiful, beautiful exercise. Okay. And until you like what you see, right, and would say like, okay, it's not about beauty. It's not about love. It's about full acceptance.
Right. So you're taking, it's, people know the idea. I mean, I do this all the time. You're supposed to, look in the mirror and, give yourself a boost. Whenever I speak to people that have, they're being self-critical. So I always tell them, imagine your child is going through what you're going through, and speak to yourself the same way. If you don't have a child, if you think my kid is cute, or you have a nephew or a niece that you're in love with, would you let that child knock themselves? Like, who are you to insult yourself? Imagine if someone insulted your kid, you'd want to knock their teeth in. Defend yourself the same way. And you're taking this concept thoroughly, all the way, truly. That's good. I like it. Thank you.
Yep. But it's working both ways, right? Don't knock yourself down, because this is self-victimization that ultimately serves only one purpose. And it's like, poor me, feel sorry for me, right? Save me. This is very egocentrical, in my opinion. And another side is, look at me, I'm beautiful, I'm wonderful, right? That basically prevents you from seeing all the aspects of self. Right. So I would suggest curiosity. Looking in the mirror and saying like, who are you? I'm thinking, who are you? I'm interested. I want to get to know you.
You've done this?
In various and many forms, absolutely.
Oh, interesting. There's a story of a rabbi who used to walk around with two pieces of paper in his pocket. Oh, you know the story. And you love it. In one pocket, the world was created because of me. In the other pocket, I'm just dust and ashes. And that's how he kept his balance.
Yeah.
And this is
And we are
what you're.
both simultaneously at all times, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are everything and we are nothing but dust.
Yeah.
And knowing both of this and keeping it in mind and being okay, like absolutely okay, looking in your eyes, your own eyes, as you look in the mirror and feel like, yes, I'm okay. I am who I am. And getting to know more and more and more and more.
Great advice. Thank you. We could keep on speaking. I think we should probably stop here just because I don't want to lose the audience. But other than that, I mean, I'm looking forward to talking to you again, whether personally or on here. But thank you so, so much for coming on. This was great stuff. Thank you.
You're
Inna.
very welcome.
All right.
Okay,
God
have
bless.
a good night. Okay, bye-bye.